Caffeine is recognized as the most commonly used psychoactive substance in the world and is widely utilized by elite athletes as an ergogenic aid to increase physical performance during training and competition. An alternative method of caffeine delivery is via chewing gum, that it may provide an advantage over traditional forms of caffeine administration. Caffeine via chewing gum offers a different pharmacokinetic profile over the ingestion of caffeine in capsules, which results in an earlier increase in blood plasma caffeine concentration, usually between 5 and 15 minutes from intake. This form of caffeine absorption may minimize the risk of gastrointestinal disorders in athletes. Therefore, the aim of this study was to examine the effects of the ingestion of caffeinated chewing gum on judo performance in elite athletes. Method: 9 male healthy experienced judoists participated in the study. The following anthropometric measurements were taken: height, body mass, and body fat percentage. Main characteristics of the study sample are depicted in the table. All athletes selected for the research were black belts, competed at the national and international level, and were members of the Polish national team. The inclusion criteria were as follows. Prior to the first experimental trial, participants were instructed to maintain their usual hydration and dietary habits and habitual caffeine intake during the study period. Habitual caffeine intake was assessed for the 4 weeks before the start of the experiment. Experimental design. To investigate the effect of caffeine consumption via caffeinated chewing gum on judo performance, the participants underwent a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover experiment where each participant acted as his own control. Each participant took part in 3 identical experimental trials that differed in the type of gum ingested as follows. Upon arrival to the laboratory, a blood sample was obtained to assess blood lactate concentration at baseline. Then, participants wore their judogis and ingested the first chewing gum. Afterwards, the participants performed a 15-minute standardized warm-up. Then, the participants performed the first special judo fitness test. After the test, blood lactate concentration and the rating of perceived exertion were obtained, while heart rate was evaluated at the end of the special judo fitness test and 1 minute into recovery. After 5 minutes of passive recovery, participants performed a 4-minute simulated combat activity with no performance measurements, and blood lactate concentration was measured again. Immediately after the combat, the second chewing gum was consumed, and then participants rested for 15 minutes before performing the second special judo fitness test. Administration of caffeinated and placebo chewing gum. In each trial, participants chewed the gums for 5 minutes and were then required to expectorate the chewed gum into a container. The gums were ingested 15 minutes before the onset of each special judo fitness test, considering that a large increase in plasma caffeine concentration after administration of 200 mg of caffeine viaduct chewing gum occurs between 5 and 15 minutes after administration. Special judo fitness test and combat activity. The special judo fitness tests consisted of 3 consecutive rounds with 10 seconds rest intervals between them. In each round, the judoist under investigation performed the highest number of ippensionage throws on 2 partners which were of similar body mass, and they were always the same for a particular tori across the study. To standardize the test among conditions, tories were positioned 6 meters apart, and the uke was required to run from one tori 1 to tori 2 as fast as possible, to throw him using the ippensionage technique, continuing then the run from tori 2 to tori number 1 to repeat the sequence of running plus throw as many times as possible during the time for each round. The test performance was measured by the number of complete and valid throws performed in the 3 rounds, which were confirmed in real time by 2 independent and experienced coaches blinded to the treatments. The sum of total throws completed in 2 tests performed in the investigation was also calculated as a measurement of performance. Results. The one-way ANOVA indicated no significant differences in energy intake and in the proportions of protein, carbohydrate, fat in the diet of the judoists between conditions. The table depicts performance and physiological variables during the 2 repetitions of the SJFD. The two-way ANOVA revealed no main effects of substance and time, nor interaction between these two variables in the number of throws performed in each repetition of the special judo fitness test. As a result, the total number of throws was not different between conditions. Additionally, there were no main effect nor interaction differences in the special judo fitness test index and in RPE for each repetition of the special judo fitness test. Blood lactate concentration at baseline was similar in all conditions. There was no main effect nor interaction in post-special judo fitness test blood lactate concentration. Blood lactate concentration after the combat performed between the special judo fitness tests nor 30 minutes after the end of the testing was similar among conditions. Heart rate at baseline was similar among conditions. There was no main effect nor interaction in post-special judo fitness tests heart values. Additionally, heart rate 1 minute after the special judo fitness tests and after the combat performed between the special judo fitness tests was not different among conditions. The Friedman's test showed no significant differences for the total number of throws, special judo fitness test index, RPE, blood lactate concentration and heart rate between the two doses of caffeine under investigation.